The office was busy as usual with the sound of keyboards clicking and phones ringing. People moved in and out of meeting rooms and cubicles with a steady rhythm that made the space feel alive. The main character walked through the rows of desks, trying to keep a low profile. It had been a long morning filled with back-to-back tasks and meetings, and now they needed a moment to speak privately on the phone. Finding a quiet corner was not easy. The office was crowded, and the hum of conversation made it difficult to focus. They finally spotted a small space near the back, tucked away enough to feel like a temporary escape from the constant motion of the workplace. Taking a deep breath, they stepped into the corner and dialed the number. The conversation started calmly, but it was private and personal. Even though it was brief, they felt their heart rate increase, aware that anyone walking by could catch part of it. Offices were full of eyes and ears, and in a place where everyone knew each other's habits. Being overheard could be uncomfortable. They tried to lower their voice and keep the words soft, hoping the moment would pass unnoticed. For a few minutes, the world outside that small corner seemed to disappear. The focus was entirely on the call, and there was a sense of relief in finally having a space to speak without the usual interruptions. The tension of deadlines, projects, and office politics faded for a moment. It felt like a rare breath of freedom in a structured environment that rarely allowed for personal moments. Suddenly the door opened. The sound made them jump and almost drop the phone. The boss stepped in, someone whose presence usually commanded attention even when they were silent. The character froze, unsure what to do, and instinctively put the phone away. The boss's eyes scanned the space quickly, catching the last movements of the character trying to regain composure. There was no angry expression, no immediate scolding, but the sudden intrusion made the heart pound faster. The employees nearby had already noticed the unexpected visit and were quietly observing, curious about what would happen next. Time seemed to stretch. A few seconds felt like minutes as the main character struggled to find words that could explain the situation. Everything felt heavy, like a spotlight had been suddenly shone on them. The fear of being misunderstood or judged created a knot in their stomach. The office had a strange energy now. Conversations stopped, chairs shifted slightly, and eyes glanced toward the corner. Everyone could sense something unusual had happened, even if they did not know exactly what it was. Rumors and guesses started, forming in the minds of colleagues who had been quietly working just moments before. The character tried to straighten up, smoothing their clothes and adjusting their posture. It was a natural response to being seen in a moment that felt private. They had not intended for anyone to witness it, and now they were caught between embarrassment and worry. The boss took a step closer, and it was clear they had noticed the tension. Yet instead of reacting in the harsh or judgmental way that had been expected, the boss paused and looked carefully. There was a sense of calm and observation, as if trying to understand rather than immediately react. Inside, the character wondered what the next words would be. Would it be a reprimand, a warning, or perhaps a joke that would make everyone laugh at their expense? The mind raced through possible scenarios, each one more uncomfortable than the last. The uncertainty made it difficult to breathe normally. And yet there was a strange hope that maybe this situation could be handled with understanding rather than punishment. The people in the office could not help but watch quietly. It was one of those rare moments where a private incident turned into a spectacle without anyone intending it. Curiosity mixed with concern as they observed the character and the boss standing there, both aware of the silence that had descended around them. The character's thoughts ran quickly through the events that led to this moment. They remembered choosing this particular corner to avoid interruptions, the careful steps to keep the phone conversation discreet, and the relief they felt when it seemed no one could hear. All of that preparation now felt pointless as the unexpected presence of the boss changed everything. As the seconds passed, there was a mix of anticipation and dread. The character tried to steady their breathing, hoping to find the right words if they were asked to explain. The human mind is quick in moments of stress, and they went through countless explanations, excuses, and ways to redirect the attention, hoping to regain some control over the situation. Meanwhile, the boss's reaction remained unreadable. That alone added to the suspense. People in the office were silently wondering what would happen next. In offices, small incidents can quickly become big stories. and everyone knew that even this quiet corner could soon be a topic of conversation for the rest of the day. The main character felt the weight of judgment, imagined or real, from the surrounding observers. Every detail seemed magnified the way they had held the phone. The expression on their face, the slight tremble in their hands, the awareness of being seen in a vulnerable moment was almost overwhelming. In that instant, a strange realization occurred. Moments like these, though uncomfortable, could reveal more than just mistakes or awkwardness. They could reveal character, empathy, and how people handle unexpected situations. Despite the fear, there was a tiny spark of hope that the situation might not end badly. The boss finally spoke, though not in the harsh way imagined. The words were calm, deliberate, and did not carry anger or judgment. The effect was immediate. The tension in the room shifted slightly as the character processed that this might not be as disastrous as feared. The relief was gradual but undeniable. While still feeling embarrassed, the main character noticed that the boss's demeanor suggested understanding. There was no need for immediate defense, no requirement to apologize excessively. It was a rare display of patience and observation that few expected in such a sudden encounter. Colleagues in the office began to relax subtly as well. The initial tension that had gripped the room began to ease. Though curiosity remained, the atmosphere was no longer charged with the same level of anxiety. People returned to their work, but occasional glances toward the corners showed that interest and speculation were far from over. The character took a moment to collect thoughts, realizing that moments of vulnerability are often inevitable, especially in environments where personal and professional lives intersect. The experience, though uncomfortable, was also a learning moment, teaching patience, composure, and the unpredictability of human reactions. By the time the phone call ended and the character stepped out of the corner, there was a sense of cautious relief. The boss had not made the situation worse, and had maintained composure in a way that inspired respect rather than fear. The incident would linger in memory, not as a source of shame, but as a moment of unexpected understanding in a busy office environment. As the day went on, the character returned to their regular tasks, but the incident remained on their mind. It was impossible to forget the sudden entrance, the pause, the careful observation, the surprising calm in response to what could have been a tense confrontation. The memory would shape the way they approach similar situations in the future. With more awareness, confidence, and respect for both personal space and professional boundaries, the office settled back into its rhythm, but something had changed. The energy in the room felt different from before. The small corner where the character had been caught in a private moment had become a point of quiet attention. People whispered softly among themselves, their voices low enough that they would not be heard too clearly, but loud enough to spread curiosity across the room. The character returned to their desk, moving slowly, as though trying to make their steps unnoticed. Each motion was careful and deliberate, but even so the eyes of colleagues could not help but follow their mind race, replaying the moment again and again. The sudden entrance, the surprise, the fear, the uncertainty of what would come next, the boss had not reacted as expected, and that alone was confusing. The character had prepared for a reprimand, but instead there had been calm observation and a sense of patience. Sitting down at the desk felt both relieving and strange. The keyboard and the screen were familiar, but somehow distant. The hum of the office continued around them, but it was hard to focus completely on work. Thoughts kept drifting back to the corner of the phone call and the unexpected presence of the boss. A mix of embarrassment and curiosity ran through the mind, constantly wondering what others were thinking and what would happen next. Around the office, whispers began to spread like a small current of wind through trees. The colleagues who had been nearby spoke quietly to each other, exchanging guesses and assumptions. Some imagined the worst and some the most innocent possibilities. The character could hear fragments of sentences that were not meant for them yet. They could not ignore them. Every glance felt loaded with questions and speculation. The boss moved around the office, attending to work as usual, but there was a subtle awareness in the way they walked. Everyone noticed their calm demeanor and the absence of anger or judgment. It was unusual in an environment where mistakes were often met with sharp words or stern looks. People began to observe how the boss interacted with others, noticing a hint of empathy and patience in small gestures. They realized that the reaction in the corner was not a one-time incident, but part of a pattern of understanding that was not often spoken about openly. Meanwhile, character tried to regain normalcy. Their hands trembled slightly as they typed emails and responded to messages. The mind wanted to focus, but every few moments it wandered back to the corner, and the sudden intrusion, the heart still beat faster. Thinking about the attention and the observation, the initial fear began to give way to reflection about how people handle unexpected moments and the surprising ways in which empathy can show itself even in professional spaces. Colleagues continued their quiet chatter. Their stories about the incident varied each time, some exaggerated while others downplayed. What had happened? The office environment was alive with curiosity and silent judgment, as well as a newfound respect for the way the boss had acted. Everyone was learning from the small incident in subtle ways about handling tension and the importance of observation before reaction. The character felt a mixture of relief and lingering tension as the day went on. The private moment had passed, yet its echoes remained. Every interaction that day seemed to be filtered through the memory of the corner and the boss's calm reaction. The mind analyzed each glance and tone from the boss, trying to decode meaning and intent. It was exhausting and enlightening at the same time. During breaks and lunch hours, the story of the incident became part of casual conversation. Some colleagues discussed it, openly speculating about what had been said. Some laughed quietly, while others reflected on the unexpected human side of authority. There was a collective recognition that the office was not just a place of work, but a place where personal moments, affirms, could intersect with professional life and reveal character. The character spent those hours trying to regain composure, focusing on completing tasks and avoiding eye contact with anyone who might bring up the incident. The body moved through motions of work automatically while the mind remained partially elsewhere. A quiet strength was growing in them as they realized that being seen in a vulnerable moment did not necessarily mean failure or shame. It could also be a lesson in patience and human interaction. As the afternoon progressed, there was a gradual return to routine, yet the corner of the office where it had happened seemed heavier somehow. A small space that had once been just another spot now carried a story, a memory, and a quiet significance. People occasionally glanced at it, wondering about the private moment and the boss's unexpected reaction. The character too would glance at it from time to time, reflecting on the day and the lessons learned from an event that had seemed ordinary at first, but turned extraordinary. The office buzzed with energy as tasks were completed, meetings were held, and messages were exchanged. Yet underneath the usual activity, there was a subtle hum of human curiosity and awareness. The incident had left a mark on everyone, even if it was quiet and unspoken. It had reminded them all that work environments were not just about deadlines and rules, but about understanding human moments and the unexpected ways in which people respond. To them, the character began to understand more about themselves and the world around them. They realized the importance of composure in unexpected situations, the value of patience, and the power of observation before judgment. They learned that embarrassment could turn into a lesson, in fear into insight. The boss had not only surprised them, but had also shown a way of handling situations that was gentle yet powerful, a way that left a lasting impression on everyone who had witnessed it. By the end of the day, there was a sense of quiet reflection across the office. The hum of machines and the clatter of keyboards continued, but the energy felt shifted. People had learned something small yet meaningful about human behavior and empathy. The character packed up belongings, slowly thinking about how they would carry the lessons forward. The private moments and the unexpected presence of the boss had become a story, a memory, and a guide for future interactions in ways they would not forget. The walk home was reflective. The streets were familiar, but the mind was occupied with replaying events, analyzing reactions, and understanding lessons. The day had started as ordinary and mundane, yet it had ended with insights into human behavior, patience, and the quiet power of understanding. The incident in the corner was no longer just an embarrassing moment, but a turning point, a memory that shaped perception and attitude toward professional life and personal composure. The character understood Now that life was full of unexpected moments, some could be embarrassing others. It's frightening, but every moment carried potential for learning and growth. The incident had reminded them that people often surprised in ways that were unexpected, and that calm understanding could leave a greater impression than anger or judgment in the office. The corner and the boss's unexpected reaction would remain with them as a guide for facing challenges in the future. Every conversation about the incident after that day carried hints of humor, empathy, and understanding, even though curiosity continued. The tone was lighter. People had learned to appreciate the subtle ways in which human nature revealed itself in moments of tension. The character, too, began to share reflections, quietly noticing how human connection could be shaped in even the smallest events. The day that began with panic ended with insight, a story, and a quiet sense of gratitude for understanding and patience. The day continued with a steady rhythm. But there was an underlying tension that lingered in the office. People moved through tasks and conversations as usual, but the memory of the incident in the corner was never far from anyone's mind. The character returned to work trying to focus, but their thoughts kept drifting back to the boss and the way everything had unfolded. Earlier moments of panic and embarrassment slowly shifted toward curiosity and reflection. The boss was moving calmly through the office, attending to tasks and employees, the presence that had once caused fear and uncertainty. A strange sense of authority mixed with understanding. People watched quietly, noting the way the boss interacted with others. The voice was steady, the gestures measured, and the attention given to each person careful and intentional. It was clear that the boss observed situations closely before speaking or acting. The character noticed small changes in the office atmosphere's subtle shifts in energy could be felt as colleagues returned to their work, but occasionally glanced toward the corner where the private moment had happened. Conversations started to carry a lighter tone, and a sense of respect began to emerge. Everyone seemed aware that what had happened was not just an incident, but also a lesson in human behavior and patience. The corner, the character felt a mixture of relief and continued anxiety. The incident had passed, yet the ripple effect was ongoing. Thoughts raced through possibilities about how the boss might respond further. The mind imagined scenarios where the situation could be addressed with humor or advice, or even quietly ignored. The anticipation created a strange tension that made it hard to focus fully on work. During a brief break, the character observed the boss interacting with other employees. The approach was calm and deliberate. The boss listened attentively, offered suggestions where needed, and treated everyone with a level of patience that was unusual in such a busy environment. The character realized that the earlier reaction in the corner was part of a broader pattern of understanding and careful observation rather than an isolated moment. The hum of keyboards and quiet conversations continued, but there was now a shared awareness among employees about human vulnerability and the importance of empathy. Even those who had not witnessed the incident directly sensed the shift in office energy. It was a subtle but powerful reminder that authority and respect could coexist with patience and understanding. The character tried to resume normal work, yet every task seemed influenced by the earlier encounter. Each email typed, each message sent, and each phone call handled carried a sense of careful attention. There was a newfound awareness of how actions could be perceived, and the importance of composure under observation. The mind reflected on how small moments could reveal character and how reactions could shape perceptions for everyone watching. The office buzzed with quiet speculation. Colleagues shared small observations about the boss and the incident in hushed tones, each retelling varied slightly, some exaggerating and some offering careful analysis. The character listened, occasionally feeling a mixture of embarrassment and pride. Embarrassment because the moment was still personal, pride because the response had been unexpectedly supportive and respectful. Lunch hours brought a chance for reflection. People gathered in small groups, exchanging thoughts about the morning. The character joined, quietly observing the subtle dynamics at play. Conversations ranged from mundane work topics to gentle discussions about the surprising reaction of the boss. Each comment seemed to reinforce the idea that patience and empathy had more impact than immediate judgment. The afternoon meetings carried an unusual energy. The boss led with calm focus, listening carefully to all input, and encouraging thoughtful discussion. Employees noticed the way attention was paid to details and how suggestions were acknowledged. Even if not implemented immediately, the character observed closely, learning from the example set and reflecting on how responses could influence morale and respect throughout. The day the incident in the corner remained a quiet undercurrent shaping interactions. The character found themselves reflecting repeatedly on the lessons learned about vulnerability, observation, and response. Even simple gestures like a nod or a word of encouragement carried more significance than before. There was a growing appreciation for the subtle ways human behavior could influence the workplace. By mid-afternoon, the character began to feel more confident and composed. The initial fear had transformed into understanding and reflection. The ability to observe the boss and colleagues had provided insight into handling moments of tension and uncertainty. The office was no longer a place of potential embarrassment, but a setting for learning patience, empathy, and composure. The boss continued to demonstrate an unexpected balance of authority and understanding. Small moments like offering guidance, listening attentively, and acknowledging the efforts of employees reinforced the lesson from earlier in the day. It was a demonstration of leadership that inspired respect without fear and provided a model for how to handle surprises in a professional environment. Colleagues occasionally glanced at the corner where the incident had occurred. Each glance was a mixture of curiosity, speculation, and recognition of the lesson observed. There was an unspoken acknowledgement that moments of vulnerability were part of being human, and that the reaction to such moments could have lasting impact on office dynamics and relationships. Character spent the remainder of the day completing tasks with careful attention and occasional reflection on the lessons of observation and empathy. The work itself became secondary to the understanding that had been gained about human interactions and the unexpected ways in which people could respond to challenging situations. As the office prepared to close for the day, there was a sense of quiet accomplishment and reflection. The hum of activity slowed and conversations carried a thoughtful tone. People were aware that the morning incident had shaped the energy of the day and left a subtle but lasting impression on everyone present. The character left the office with a mixture of relief, gratitude, and insight. The walk home provided time for further reflection. The streets were familiar, but the mind replayed the moments from the office, observing reactions, analyzing interactions, and considering lessons learned. The day had begun with panic and embarrassment, yet ended with insight into human behavior, leadership, and patience. The private moment, the unexpected entrance, and the calm response of the boss had become a story, a guide, and a source of understanding that would stay with the character for a long time. The character realized that life was filled with unexpected moments that could bring discomfort and fear, but also opportunities for growth and insight. Each human interaction carried potential for learning. The experience in the corner had not only revealed aspects of the boss, but it also revealed resilience, composure, and understanding within themselves. Even as the night fell, the memory lingered in a quiet way, shaping thoughts about professional life, human behavior, and personal growth. The office incident had become more than a story of embarrassment. It was a lesson in empathy, observation, and patience that would inform future interactions, decisions, and the approach to unexpected challenges. The character drifted into the evening, thinking about how small moments could reveal character, how reactions could shape relationships, and how calm understanding often left a greater impression than anger or criticism. The office, the corner, and the boss's unexpected response had transformed from a moment of panic into a source of insight and reflection. The day had ended, but the lessons were only beginning to settle. In every interaction, glance, and word would carry the memory of the morning, guiding behavior, shaping perception, and reinforcing the understanding that empathy and calm observation could change the course of human connection in profound and lasting ways. The office had returned to its usual rhythm, yet the memory of the morning incident lingered quietly in the minds of everyone present. There was a sense of reflection and awareness that had not existed before. The corner where the private moment had occurred was no longer just a space. It had become a symbol of patience, understanding, and unexpected human connection. The character moved through the office, completing tasks carefully, yet their thoughts kept returning to the boss and the way the situation had unfolded. It was remarkable how one moment had shifted perspective and brought insight into human behavior. The fear and embarrassment of earlier had transformed into appreciation and understanding of composure, empathy, and the power of observation. Colleagues continued to work while occasionally glancing at the corner, exchanging subtle gestures and quiet conversation. Each glance carried a mix of curiosity, recognition, and a shared sense of learning. Everyone understood that the morning had provided more than just a story. It had provided lessons on patience, empathy, and the way leaders and humans respond to unexpected situations. The boss continued to move through the office, calmly attending to work and giving attention to each employee in a manner that inspired respect. The gestures were deliberate and thoughtful. Words were measured, and careful observation was clear to all who watched. There was no display of anger or judgment, only a quiet authority that carried lessons more powerful than any reprimand could have conveyed them. Character felt a growing sense of confidence and reflection. Every action taken after that moment seemed influenced by the memory of how the boss had handled the WUSA situation. Calm observation and understanding had replaced panic and embarrassment. The ability to reflect and learn from the moment brought a quiet sense of growth and maturity. During breaks, the office buzzed with stories about the incident. Stories were retold quietly among colleagues, each adding perspective, observation, and a touch of humor. The character listened and realized how shared experiences and reflection could deepen understanding of human nature, patience, and empathy. Even those who had not witnessed the moment directly absorbed the lessons through observation and conversation. Tasks continued and the day moved forward, but there was a subtle shift in energy. The office was quieter in moments and more thoughtful in interactions. Employees approached work and conversation with renewed care and reflection. The morning incident had become a lens through which all human interaction could be observed and appreciated for its depth and subtlety. The character felt the weight of learning settling in each email sent, each call made, each conversation held carried more awareness and care. The experience had provided insight into personal composure, handling unexpected moments and observing human behavior before reacting. There was a quiet pride in navigating the day with reflection and understanding rather than fear or anxiety. As the afternoon passed, the office settled into routine, yet the undercurrent of awareness and learning remained. Employees quietly adjusted their behavior, noticing subtle cues and small gestures that revealed patience and empathy. The corner of the office remained a quiet landmark of human observation and interaction, teaching lessons that were subtle but lasting. The character reflected on the way fear and embarrassment had shifted to understanding and growth through calm observation and measured response. The boss had not only handled the incident with unexpected composure, but had also provided a model of behavior that inspired everyone. The lesson was clear that human connection, patience, and empathy often created more impact than anger or immediate judgment. The remaining hours of the workday were spent in thoughtful productivity. The character noticed colleagues approaching challenges and conversations with care and reflection. A sense of respect and understanding had permeated the office and shaped interactions in a subtle yet powerful way. Everyone carried awareness of human behavior and the unexpected ways in which people responded to moments of tension. As the day drew to a close, the character packed up belongings, reflecting on the incident, the reactions of colleagues, and the lessons learned from the boss. The private moment that had begun with panic and embarrassment had evolved into a source of growth, reflection, and understanding. The experience became a guide for how to approach unexpected situations with patience, empathy, and calm observation. Walking home, the character replayed the day, mentally observing how human nature revealed itself in subtle ways and considering how the lessons learned could be applied in future interactions. The day that began with fear ended with insight, reflection, and a deeper understanding of human behavior and professional composure. The incident remained vivid in memory as a reminder that moments of vulnerability could become opportunities for growth and learning. The boss's response had transformed the event from embarrassment to an important lesson in patience, empathy, and thoughtful leadership. The character felt a quiet gratitude for having experienced it and learned from it. The office itself seemed different now. The space that had once been ordinary now carried meaning, subtle awareness, and a quiet sense of reflection. Employees interacted with more thoughtfulness and consideration, influenced by the memory of the SEE morning incident. The atmosphere was calm, respectful, and mindful, reminding everyone that human behavior could teach lessons in ways that were unexpected yet. Last in At Home, the character continued to reflect on the day, on personal growth, and on the impact of calm observation and empathy. The private moment that had been so frightening had been transformed into a story of insight, reflection, and learning. The boss's actions had shown that understanding, patience, and careful response left a greater mark than fear or judgment could ever create. The night ended with a quiet sense of closure. The day had been unusual in its unfolding, but it had provided insight into human nature, professional composure, and the power of empathy and observation. The character felt more confident, reflective, and aware, ready to face future unexpected moments with the lessons learned from this one. The story of the day would remain long after the memory of fear and embarrassment faded. It had become a story of learning, reflection, and growth, a story that highlighted human behavior, patience, and the power of unexpected kindness and understanding in moments that seemed ordinary at first, but revealed extraordinary lessons. The character realized that life was full of such moments. Each one offered the opportunity to observe, reflect, learn from the actions and responses of others. The incident in the office had provided a guide, a memory, and a lesson in how to approach challenges with calm, empathy, and understanding. In the quiet of the night, the memory persisted, a gentle reminder that human interaction carried lessons for those willing to observe, reflect, and grow. The office, the corner, and the boss's unexpected reaction had transformed a moment of fear into a lifelong insight that shaped perception, behavior, and personal growth in ways that would endure for years. The morning light came slowly into the office, casting long shadows across desks and chairs. People arrived, quietly carrying coffee and small bags of breakfast, yet there was a subtle change in the atmosphere compared to previous days. The memory of the incident that had occurred earlier still lingered quietly in the minds of many employees. The corner where the private moment had taken place had become more than just a spot. It was now a point of reflection, a reminder of patience and calm observation. The character arrived early, trying to settle into the workday with a sense of preparedness. Each step through the office carried a heightened awareness of colleagues and the UHL subtleties of human behavior. There was still some nervousness about encountering the boss, yet it was mixed with curiosity and a growing confidence in navigating unexpected moments. The lessons of the previous day were fresh, and there was a desire to apply them in real time. As the office slowly filled, the hum of conversation and keyboard tapping created a familiar rhythm, yet it was underscored by a quiet attentiveness. Employees seemed more aware of each other, their movements, their expressions, and the way they interacted. The morning incident had subtly shifted the energy of the office, teaching everyone that observation and patience were as important as completing tasks and meeting deadlines. The boss arrived shortly afterward, moving calmly through the office, stopping to greet employees and observe quietly as work was underway. There was no rush, no urgency, just a deliberate presence that communicated attention and understanding. The character noticed the subtle ways in which the boss encouraged participation and acknowledged efforts, creating a sense of reassurance that had not been present before. The lessons of composure and empathy from the prior day were being reinforced, not through words but through actions and consistent behavior. Character took a deep breath and began work with careful focus, trying to remain fully present, yet constantly reflecting on human reactions and the impact of calm observation. Moments of tension or potential mistakes were now approached with thoughtfulness and patience rather than panic. The awareness that even small actions could influence perceptions created a heightened sense of responsibility and insight into professional interactions around the office. Colleagues engaged in quiet conversation, sharing updates on projects and small personal stories. The corner where the incident had happened was occasionally mentioned in hushed tones as a point of reflection or humor. There was no malice, only curiosity and an acknowledgement that the event had shifted the energy of the office. Subtly yet significantly, everyone seemed to recognized that human moments could shape relationships and learning in unexpected ways. Meetings were held with a careful balance of focus and attentiveness. The boss led discussions, calmly encouraging input and carefully observing reactions to questions and suggestions. Each participant felt seen and acknowledged, and the character began to understand how the balance of authority and empathy could transform the way people responded to challenges and unexpected moments. The lessons of observation, patience, and composure were continuing to unfold in real time. During breaks, the character reflected on interactions, observing subtle cues in colleagues, the way they moved, how they spoke, and how their expressions shifted. It became clear that the previous incident had not only impacted perceptions of the boss, but also influenced behavior among employees. Awareness of vulnerability, careful response, and empathy had become part of the office culture in a quiet yet profound way. The character felt gratitude for the experience, recognizing its potential for long-term personal growth. The afternoon passed with the usual rhythm of tasks and meetings, yet there was a noticeable difference in energy. People seemed more considerate, attentive, and reflective. Interactions carried a sense of understanding and subtle respect, even in moments of minor stress or disagreement. The office had become a space not just of productivity but of learning, reflection, and human connection. The character found themselves increasingly able to navigate unexpected moments with calm observation. The nervousness that had accompanied the morning faded as confidence in applying lessons learned grew. The ability to reflect before reacting and to understand the subtle nuances of human behavior provided a sense of control and insight that had been absent previously. The office became a classroom for patience, empathy, and observation, where every interaction offered a lesson. As the day progressed, conversations in the office carried a quiet sense of reflection. Employees shared observations about behavior and reactions of the boss in ways that reinforced the lessons of the prior incident. The character noticed how stories about the morning incident were being retold with emphasis on empathy, understanding, and composure rather than embarrassment or fear. The culture of awareness continued to deepen. The boss continued to move calmly through the office, addressing issues with care, listening attentively, and providing guidance thoughtfully. There was a quiet reinforcement of lessons through action rather than words. Demonstrating the impact of patient observation and thoughtful response, the character watched and reflected, learning how to incorporate similar composure into personal behavior. The influence of the boss extended beyond direct interaction into subtle shaping of office culture and personal growth. By mid-afternoon, the character felt a sense of accomplishment and reflection. The ability to handle moments of tension and potential embarrassment with calm composure had grown stronger. Awareness of human behavior and the impact of subtle gestures created a quiet confidence in navigating professional interactions. The previous incident had evolved from a source of fear into a foundation for insight and growth. As the workday neared its end, the office atmosphere remained calm, thoughtful, and reflective. Conversations were quiet, yet meaningful, and employees moved through tasks with awareness of each other and the influence of their actions. The lessons from the morning incident were now embedded subtly in behavior, interactions, and perceptions, creating an environment of empathy, patience, and understanding. Walking home, the character replayed the day in thought, observing reactions, reflecting on personal responses, and considering the growth that had occurred. The incident in the corner, the response of the boss had become a story of learning, insight, and human connection that extended beyond embarrassment and fear. Day had begun as ordinary, but evolved into an experience of reflection, growth, and understanding of human behavior. The character realized that life was full of moments where vulnerability intersected with opportunity. Each interaction carried potential for learning, empathy, and growth. The office incident had provided a guide, a lesson, and a source of insight into the power of calm observation and thoughtful response. The character felt prepared to face future challenges with composure and understanding. The evening carried a quiet sense of gratitude and reflection. The lessons of patience, empathy, and careful observation from the day would remain with the character, shaping perception, behavior, and personal growth in subtle yet lasting ways, the office, the boss. And the morning incident had become part of a story of insight that would influence future interactions and understanding of human nature. The night ended with a calm mind and reflective thoughts on the impact of small moments. The character understood that fear and embarrassment could transform into learning and growth through observation and reflection. The story of the office, the corner, and the boss's response had become a powerful reminder of patience, empathy, and the lasting influence of human behavior on professional and personal life. Morning began quietly in the office with a calm that seemed to stretch. Across every desk and workspace, the memory of the previous day's events was present in the minds of the character and their colleagues. It was no longer a moment of panic or embarrassment, but a story that had shaped awareness, reflection, and understanding. The corner where the private incident had taken place remained a subtle landmark of human behavior, patience, and empathy. Character moved through the office slowly, taking note of the energy around them. Each step felt deliberate, each motion thoughtful, as if the memory of the boss and the earlier reactions had instilled a sense of mindfulness. There was no nervousness now, only awareness and the quiet confidence that comes from having navigated a challenging moment and learned from it. Colleagues exchanged greetings and shared small conversations, yet there was a noticeable difference in tone. Interactions were more careful, attentive, and considerate. Each person seemed more aware of how their actions and words could influence the space around them. The incident from the corner had become more than a story. It had become a lesson in awareness, patience, and human connection. The boss arrived shortly afterward, moving through the office with calm purpose, yet a presence that carried observation and understanding. The character watched closely, noting the way attention was given to detail, the way questions were met with consideration, and how encouragement was offered without judgment. The lessons from the previous incident were reinforced through action rather than words. The boss continued to demonstrate a model of empathy, composure, and quiet authority that influenced everyone present. The character settled at their desk, reflecting on the growth that had occurred over the past few days. The fear and embarrassment of the initial incident had transformed into insight, confidence, and understanding of human behavior. Each interaction, task, and conversation carried the imprint of reflection and the ability to respond with calm observation and empathies. The day progressed, the office settled into its usual rhythm, yet the energy was different from before. Conversations were softer, but meaningful. Colleagues listened more attentively, and gestures were more deliberate. The corner where the incident had taken place remained a subtle focal point of memory and reflection, reminding everyone that small moments could have lasting impact and teach profound lessons about human nature. The character experienced moments of quiet observation throughout the day, noticing small details in how colleagues moved, spoke, and interacted. It became clear that the previous events had created a ripple effect. Awareness and empathy were now more present in interactions, and the culture of the office carried a subtle shift toward understanding and patience. Even small gestures and expressions held new significance. Meetings were conducted with a calm attentiveness that had not been present before. The boss led with quiet authority, observing responses and encouraging thoughtful contributions. Every participant felt seen and heard, and the character reflected on how composure and understanding could influence group dynamics and create a sense of respect and collaboration. The lessons from the incident were unfolding in real time, demonstrating the power of calm observation and empathy. During breaks, the character reflected quietly on the experiences of the past days, recognizing the growth that had occurred in themselves and observing similar changes in colleagues. The incident that had begun with panic had become a catalyst for reflection, learning, and understanding. The ability to navigate vulnerability with composure had strengthened the character and shaped the office environment in subtle but meaningful ways. The afternoon carried a sense of quiet productivity. The hum of keyboards, the sound of voices, and the movement of people created a rhythm that was familiar yet infused with awareness. Reflection on the previous incident continued to influence actions and decisions, creating a sense of mindfulness in each interaction. And task completed, the boss moved through the office, calmly addressing questions, providing guidance, and observing responses with care. The character watched and learned, noting the way composure and understanding influence perception and behavior. A simple gesture, a nod, a question asked thoughtfully, or a pause before responding carried more meaning than words alone. The example set was a model for how to handle unexpected situations with empathy and apathy. Reflection as the day drew toward its close, the character packed belongings, slowly reflecting on the growth that had occurred, on the lessons learned, and the way the office had changed since the initial incident. Each interaction had become a small opportunity to practice patience, empathy, and composure. The office was no longer just a place of work, but a space for reflection, learning, and human connection. Walking home, the character thought deeply about the events of the past days, the initial panic, the embarrassment, the calm observation of the boss, and the transformation into insight and learning played repeatedly in the mind. It became clear that human behavior and reaction to unexpected moments carried opportunities for growth, understanding, and connection. Character realized that life was full of moments where vulnerability intersected with opportunity. Each interaction provided insight into human nature, patience, empathy, and the power of calm observation. The office incident had become a story of transformation, from fear to understanding, a lesson in how to approach challenges and unexpected situations with composure. At home, the evening was quiet, yet reflective. The character replayed the events, analyzed reactions, and considered how the lessons learned could be applied to future situations. The incident in the corner had revealed more than embarrassment. It had revealed resilience, composure, and the potential for human growth in unexpected circumstances. The night progressed with thoughts of reflection, gratitude, and insight. The character recognized that personal growth often emerges from moments of discomfort. Fear and vulnerability could become tools for learning if observed with patience and reflection. The office, the boss, and the incident had become a guide for behavior, perception, and interaction that would endure. Sleep came with a sense of calm accomplishment. The character felt a quiet confidence in facing future challenges. The lessons of patience, empathy, and careful observation had been learned through experience and reflection, providing a foundation for personal and professional growth. The story of the incident had transformed into a source of insight, understanding, and human connection. The next days in the office carried a subtle continuation of the shift initiated by the incident. Each interaction, meeting, and casual conversation was influenced by the awareness of human behavior and the power of composure and empathy. The character continued to practice reflection and mindfulness, observing and learning from colleagues and the boss. The incident in the corner remained a reference point, not for embarrassment, but for understanding and growth. A quiet story that influenced behavior, perception, and interaction in profound ways. Human connection, patience, and empathy had become more visible in subtle gestures and careful responses across the office. The character realized that true growth occurs through reflection, observation, and the ability to learn from unexpected moments. The boss's reaction, calm and composed, had provided a model for how to navigate challenges and uncertainty, a lesson that would stay long after the memory of fear had faded. As the weeks passed, the story of the incident remained present, yet it became a symbol of learning, insight, and human behavior rather than gossip or curiosity. The office culture had shifted subtly, embedding awareness, empathy, and composure into interactions and expectations. The character felt prepared and confident carrying the lessons forward. The final reflection settled in the character's mind as a quiet truth. Life presented moments that tested composure, patience, and empathy, yet each challenge carried opportunity. Each unexpected event provided insight. Each reaction revealed character. The incident in the corner had transformed from a moment of fear into a lasting story of understanding, growth. In human connection, the day ended quietly, with reflection and calm. The character understood that vulnerability could be a teacher, and that empathy and careful observation were more powerful than fear or judgment. The story of the office, the corner, and the boss's surprising response had provided lessons that would remain for a lifetime, shaping perception, behavior, and understanding in personal and professional life.